The Rangers defeat the Twins in the series finale 2-1. They beat the Twins in this series 3 games in a row, and now the Twins will head to Houston. A lot to break down in today's Locked On Twins postcast.
You are Locked On Twins postcast, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, your team every day.
And welcome to another edition of our Locked On Twins postcast. Today is Monday, August 22nd. I'm the host of Locked On Twins, Nat Walker, here with writer and reporter at Access Twins, Mr. Brandon Warren. Before we get started, the NFL is coming. Maybe good news for Twins fans. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Jacob, he's got a unsure face he's putting on the comments here. And
yeah,
that was a tough loss, Brandon. Twins lose 3 out of 4 to the Rangers. They lost 3 straight to a team that now is 10 games below 500, but you can't lose these games.
And it feels like such a baseball thing that the Twins' current inadequacies are coming to roost right after they fix their previous inadequacies. The team was, and I wrote this today at Access Twins, 4th in weighted runs created plus up to the deadline. So what do they do at the deadline? They address their pitching needs. Their pitching has been very, very good since the deadline, and the offense has gone completely in the tubes. Then you look at the offense, and there's a flaw with each and every player in this lineup right now that it feels like is being exploited at just the wrong time. You end up going to face some teams so lefty reliever late in the game. Well, it just so happens that's when you got Jake Cave, Nick Gordon, and Luis Arraez coming up. You have runners in scoring position, and that just happens to be where Carlos Correa hasn't performed this season. You have Byron Buxton in a big spot, and his all or nothing is so much nothing when it's a big spot. You have Jose Miranda, who has been phenomenal as a rookie, having growing pains at just the wrong spot. You have Max Kepler, who can't hit his way out of a wet paper bag at just the wrong spot. This can't continue. It can't continue.
Anthony says the season is over. The offense is dead. Just bury them in their well-earned grave. I'm a pretty optimistic Twins fan. Daily podcast. I got to stay optimistic. I got to stay pretty flat, when I can. But I will be honest with you, Brandon, more than any time this season, tonight, you just had this feeling. Buxton leaves early with an injury. I just had that game felt awful. Like that felt like the beginning of the end, or maybe just the end for the Twins. Because I also know that they're going to Houston for 3 to play Verlander and Framber Valdez and Luis Garcia.
Yeah. And even if I think they get the Yankees coming up too. And even if the Yankees are on a death spiral, doesn't really matter.
Right. They'll get right. You face
the pinstripes, and all of a sudden they're back in black. Or back in blue as it is. I just don't have anything good to say about this offense right now. The pitching staff, oh my gosh, though, like they deserve a round of applause. They deserve a parade. They have been phenomenal. We need to give Sonny Gray his roses, or give him his, I don't even know what the phrase is. You need to give him his credit where it's due. And every Twins pitcher has just looked great. I mean, generally speaking, there's been blowups, no question about it. And you look at that upcoming schedule and you know that Cole Sands is probably going to start one of those games against Justin Verlander. And I don't remember that much of a gorge, of a canyon that the Twins have had to close in a recent start. And then you think about their offense and they're already punchless. I mean, is it possible to get negative hits against Justin Verlander? Because that's where this offense looks like it is right now. And it's not me saying I know how to fix it. It's not me saying I even know that there's a way to fix it in the sense of what David Popkins can do or these hitters individually. But from my eyes, and I know what fans are seeing, and I understand the frustration, and it's a bubbling cauldron, and it just can't keep going on. I wrote about it again today at Access Twins, that the disconnect between the offense and the pitching staff is going to sink a season that somehow got to this point in the first place with a patchwork rotation, a decent offense, and let's be honest, a pretty bad bullpen for the first 4 months of the season.
So they had this 10-game stretch with the Angels, the Royals, and the Rangers, with 7 of those 10 being at home. They went, what was it, Brandon? 5-5.
5-5.
5-5.
Oh, and yeah, so I wrote about that today too. So if you go from June 1st to August 2nd, the Twins were 24-28. Not exciting, right?
Yeah.
So they make moves to fix their biggest issues. And you're thinking, okay, we got a decent offense. The pitching staff got reinforcements. You know what they are since the deadline now? 8-9. Winning percentage wise, 8-9. I don't know what that is, but it's not that far off from what 24-28 is. So they made big changes. They did everything right process wise. And this offense has completely fallen asleep. And again, I don't think blame falls specifically on one player, one coach, whatever. But when you watch this, you cannot help but be disheartened. Max Kepler needs to hit 9th or not at all, because he came up in so many spots tonight and in the last few games. And he hits those weak rollers to second, reminiscent of Joe Mauer when he was slumping. And they're just coming at the worst possible time. It's like sequencing gone mad. I feel like a broken record here.
It's also frustrating. Like they got it. I'm not asking for Tim Beckham and Jake Cave to like hit, 300 with home runs every other night, but like to get something out of their depth, their AAA depth would be really helpful. And those guys have done nothing. I mean, Cave made a nice play at the end, but like dribbled the ball the second, as you said, and it's frustrating. And Reese says, yeah, poor Buck out playing on a peg leg. Please don't make it all for nothing. Yeah.
I don't know about a peg leg, but yeah, it's not far off.
Last year, Brandon, and you remember clearly, in May, it was like late April, early May, and Buxton was incredible. He had like the best month in Twins history. I remember at that time, I said to my mom and dad, I'll never forget, I said, if they're a Buxton injury away from the season being over, like they're going to be done. And then he tore his hip and he was done. We don't know what this is, but I think that's the same hip as last year. I don't know if it was his right hip, but I felt that way at that time. And I just don't know if they can do it without his upside in the lineup. And I know he hasn't really put it together with runners in scoring position, but it's just hard to imagine them like completely flipping this thing around, looking at the schedule. If they don't have Buxton for however long, it's just hard for me to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to disagree. And for Buxton's warts, I mean, nobody's going to get excited about a 306 on base, and that 526 is heavily loaded towards home runs, which, I mean, if you hit 30 home runs, that's still only like 2% of your at-bats over a full season, right? Or something. So maybe my math is dumb. I don't know. Either way, though, it's like or 5%, whatever it is. It's still hard to have that many empty plate appearances, swinging at 1-2 sliders that are non-competitive pitches and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's impossible to overstate how good that start to Buxton season was last year. He homered off, if I'm not mistaken, Corbin Burns, and it was like the first home run Burns gave up, or it was like the only home run he gave up for like a month to start the season. So he deserves all the credit in the world for playing through stuff. If he had 2 healthy wheels, I don't know how much different his numbers would look, but they'd be better. There's no question about it. They'd be better. His swings would be better. His swings would be healthier. His mechanics of his swing would be better. He'd be staying on outside pitches longer. But at the end of the day, he's only one man. He's doing the best he can with 1.5 wheels. And there's just too many guys not doing their part. Again, Carlos Correa, I think, is having a fine, respectable season. But he has not had, I think, even one moment that's a signature moment that is going to be something that you and I will look back on if he walks at the end of the season and say, how am I going to remember Carlos Correa's tenure in Minnesota? With a whimper in August and September, or is he going to go off and have like a 1,200 OPS the rest of the way, lead this team to the playoffs, and join folklore with guys like Jack Morris and that sort of thing? Because there's no in between at this point. He's going to, especially if Buxton is hurt for any amount of time, he is going to have to be the guy that he was signed to be, because he has not been to this point.
Yeah,
I
agree. Yeah, I agree. It's been frustrating to watch play out. It's kind of been a slow burn. It's like falling asleep. It's like really slow and then all at once.
Isn't that how you die from hypothermia? You just fall asleep? Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but it's a 30 Rock thing. They say, you just get comfortable and fall asleep. And
Yes,
you know,
yes, you just fade. You just fade
yep,
away. But the thing, they're 2 games out of first. I mean,
I know, and
yeah, the feeling is that they're 10 games back because if they, they feel like they have been for a long time, but they're
yep.
2 games out of first, and they have 8 games left with Cleveland, 9 left with the Chicago. It just feels like the trend, like the way that things are heading, it's hard to have confidence in them in any. I mean, the pitching staff, yes, but like the offense is so sleepy, and now without Buxton I don't want to say without Buxton, but if they're without Buxton, it's hard to have any faith in them.
Though, to be fair, if you watched the Chicago White Sox game today, you don't have any faith in that team either. So, on the lighter side, there's really not much reason to believe in any of these teams. Cleveland is just kind of the why not us team in the division. And neither of the other 2 teams who are supposed to be, I don't know if you'd call them the Titans, it'd be like the big brothers in an otherwise uninspiring family. And the little brother is shining or showing them up. That's what's happening right now. And Cleveland right now deserves all the credit to being in first place at this point, despite not having a definitely flawed and young team. Good for them. Give them credit because they deserve it.
Yeah, it's been on a platter for the Twins all year, and it's still on the platter. So it's still there, which is, I think, frustrating for fans because they just want to be done. In some ways, it's like, okay, I don't want to keep getting my hopes up and like keep reminding myself that they're still in this thing. It's really hard to stay in it at that point. Let's talk about this Astros series before we go. And Dan kind of leads us off here. It's tough to look past this weekend, a deep slumping lineup against the Astros pitching staff. This might be the worst time to go into Houston and play this Astros team. And you know what makes me feel better, Brandon, is they performed very well against Justin Verlander at Target Field.
Yeah.
And in their past, man, they have a great history against them. So, yeah.
Did I make a face that you're laughing at? I'm trying to figure out what it is. But what about a Carlos Correa revenge game? Maybe he wins a 3-2, 2-1 game with a home run, and they take 2 or 3. And also, too, the Twins in this series, let's see, 3 one-run games, and they give up 2 of them. This Texas team has been dreadful in one-run games. So that's just another notch on the belt of people saying this Twins team just doesn't have it, because Texas has just been brutal in one-run games, and the Twins just rolled over and folded. Absolutely folded in those last the games 2 and 4.
39 starts for Verlander against the Twins, 2.82 ERA and 261 2/3 in his career. I know it doesn't really mean
that's more than a full season worth of starts for a guy like him.
That's like a Jim Cott season with
he throws 220, 240 back in the day. He was a throwback in that sense, and that's still more than that. I mean, goodness gracious, you think about guys who've hit 30 home runs against the Twins in their career. Jim Thome back in the day, and Edwin Encarnacion. Guys have entire seasons against one team. It's bonkers.
Nelson Cruz against the White Sox. We like that one. That one was fun.
Yeah, I missed that one. I missed that one a lot. Yep. See if we can get him cut by the Nationals and join the team in Houston. Somebody's asking who's starting against Verlander. We think it's Cole Sands, right?
I think it's Sands. I was going to ask you before we go as well, like, what if it's Sands, Verlander, game 2 is Valdez Bundy, and game 3 is Archer Garcia? Which of those 3 do you think the Twins have the best chance to win in this series if they could take one out of the 3?
Do I have to pick one?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't know I don't know.
Garcia Archer, because desperate times call for desperate measures, and if he gives you 4 strong, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, but he keeps you in it, I think Garcia is the one they're most likely to get to of the 3. So then you go Archer for 4, Thielbar for 1, and then Duran, whatever they face the middle of the order, and you scrape it together, and maybe that's the one you win. So for me, game 3 is probably the one if I'm a betting man. I'm not, but if you was going to, I think we have a place that could help them with that. But no, game 3 is me just kind of, picking a straw.
Folks, we got to wait till Thursday, according to Brandon Warren. Brandon, thank you, sir, for joining and talking, and we're getting a lot of comments, which is always great. Yeah, Reese, that was a great moment. E-Ray hitting that homer off Verlander in 2019.
So the first few homers of Adrianza's career were like Madison Bumgarner, Clayton Kershaw, and Justin Verlander. Like, nice. He had the most ridiculous, such a great dude too. Did you hear he's He's actually preparing for a job in the future in a front
I
office.
saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
read
a
that.
great dude.
Rosenthal
Best
wrote
dude.
about that.
Best dude.
Yeah, really like him a lot, and that was a
Yep.
great win. Twins won 1-0 at Target Field, and that was
Yep.
kind of a start of a special season. Brandon, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. Thank you everybody for joining, and we'll always be here, no matter if the Twins win or lose or whatever they do, win, lose, or tie. We'll